Hi everyone and welcome to another reading vlog. So, as you have probably guessed from the title, in this video I am going to be reading the Raybearer duology by Jordan Ifueko, and I'm really excited about it because I'm hoping that this is going to be the first episode in a new vlog series where I read the series that I was meant to start last year but didn't get round to. I mentioned this in a video that I made earlier in the year where I reacted to a video that I did in 2022. I'll leave everything linked in the description just in case you wanted to find out more. But yeah, my plan for this reading vlog is to read the Raybearer duology, and I'm really excited about it because I've started the first book and I'm already really intrigued. So this duology is basically following a main character called Tarasai. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I need to double check. Basically, this main character lives in this world where you have this royal family, and the emperor has this council of 11 people who each have various magical powers, and there's a rule or like a law or there's some kind of magic that basically means that the only people who are able to kill the emperor or the crown prince are people who are on this council. Tarasai has actually been cursed by her mother to eventually kill the crown prince, and the way that her mother has kind of plotted this is Tarasai is sent to the capital to try and infiltrate the council of the crown prince. However, Tarasai doesn't really want to do that. It's basically a story about our main character trying to fight against her destiny. I don't read a lot of YA fantasy anymore, so in the beginning I struggled a little bit because it felt very fast-paced, but actually I don't think the world building or the character development has been too fast-paced. I really like the court intrigue actually. I like that the characters feel distinctive, and I feel like there's still much more to learn, but because it's so fast-paced, it's very compulsively readable. Another thing that I struggled with in the beginning is how the main character is only 11 years old when she's brought to the capital, and because you're following her point of view, there's stuff going on around her that she doesn't understand, but I understood everything that was going on. So again, it was really frustrating, but I had to remind myself that this is YA, so it's understandable that I might occasionally find the characters frustrating because they're acting their age. Don't know if I mentioned, but I'm already at the end of part 1, so I think I'm around 30% of the way through, but I'm really interested to see what direction this goes in because some stuff has happened already that I wasn't expecting, and I have a good feeling about this. I feel like this is going to be the kind of YA fantasy that I really enjoy.
Saturday wanted to call, but I never know what to say. Taking pictures with my phone, distracting me from my brain.
It has been a few days since I last updated this vlog. It was Easter yesterday and I was away over the weekend, so I haven't really been reading much. However, I did have a really good weekend. I went up to Liverpool to visit one of my uni friends, and we had, yeah, just a really chilled but busy time. So on the Saturday daytime, we went to the beach, which was really relaxing. I had a nice walk, and then in the evening we went to Bongo's Bingo, which was chaos. So yeah, I listened to an audiobook on the drive there and back, but otherwise I haven't really been reading much physically. But I'm excited to get back into Raybearer because when I left off, I think I'm around halfway through now, possibly more like 45% of the way through, but I'm still really liking it. I really like the world and how it feels very well thought out. It feels like there's a lot of depth to the world. It's an African-inspired world. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but yeah, at times it has felt a little bit info-dumpy, but I really like the atmosphere. There was an action scene earlier that I struggled with a little bit. I wasn't quite following what was happening, but thankfully most of the plot for this book is based around character interactions and the world and the politics, so it's not heavy on the action. Most of the plot isn't actually explained within the synopsis, so I'm going to be really careful about what I say, because if you are interested in this book, then I feel like you will enjoy it more, like me, if you go into it not knowing too much. But there's a really interesting political system, and there's an element of the main character trying to understand the politics of the world, because she was quite sheltered growing up. So yeah, there's certain things that she doesn't understand, but she's also questioning stuff and wondering whether certain things are right or wrong. Some things have frustrated me, but I think that's been done deliberately. I actually think the choice that the author has made in terms of the direction that this is going in, I think it's been really cleverly done. This has definitely taken a turn that I wasn't expecting, and I love that. I wouldn't say that it's been super twisty so far, but we're moving along at a steady pace. There's also a found family aspect that I've really enjoyed so far. I wouldn't say that I'm particularly attached to any of the characters, but I don't dislike any characters and I'm enjoying following them. Let's see how much more of this I can read tonight, because it's currently Monday. I'm back in work tomorrow after the bank holiday, and I would like to finish this and also Redemptor by the weekend, but I also need to film my March wrap up at some point at some point this week. So yeah, wish me luck. I feel like it's going to be a really busy week, but actually next week is looking even busier. Oh, I'm also in the office twice this week, and then next week I'm going away for work. So yeah, I really need to finish this book within the next couple of days, which shouldn't be a problem, to be fair, because it's feeling like a nice palette cleanser at the moment. It's moving really quickly and yeah, I'm enjoying it. So hopefully I can finish it within the next few days. Hello everyone, it is Wednesday. I have just got home from work and I thought I would film a quick update because I'm now at the end of part 3 of Raybearer. I've only got, I think, 8 chapters left. I'm very close to the end and I'm still really enjoying it. I feel like the pace has really started to pick up and there's been some really good twists and turns. Even though there is romance in this book, what I'm liking is that the romance isn't the main focus of the plot, because that's what I've struggled with, I think, in the past with YA, is that because the characters are usually teenagers and I am not a teenager, I struggle to relate to the characters, and I can still enjoy a story even if I don't relate to the characters. But the romance often feels really angsty, and that's just not my personal taste. However, I think if I'd read Raybearer like 10 or 15 years ago, I would have really felt invested in the romance. I do think the characters are likeable, and there's also asexual representation, which I wasn't expecting. The story itself feels familiar but different, and I can't really explain it, but this is again something that I often find with YA, is that there's tropes that make it feel predictable, and I'm not finding that with Raybearer. I'm not finding it predictable at all, which I obviously always appreciate. However, one criticism that I do have is that in a way the world feels too big and there are a lot of side characters that are kind of irrelevant. I think there's 12 regions that make up this world, and each region has a representative that makes up each royal council. I wouldn't be able to explain to you all of the different regions and all of the side characters that have been mentioned by name. However, I do know the characters that I need to know, and because there's all of that extra detail, it is making the world feel a lot bigger. So yeah, it's something that I have struggled with a little bit, because I am the kind of reader who likes to know everything, and I feel like I am just having to go with stuff occasionally and just roll with it. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this ends. Hello everyone, it is now Thursday and I am currently watching Sprints, but I thought I should pop in and update you really quickly because I did end up finishing Raybearer last night and I really enjoyed it. I think think I'm going to give it a 4-star rating. It didn't quite give me that 5-star feeling, but I did like the ending and how it felt satisfying. I thought it did a really good job of wrapping things up, but it also set things up for the next book, and I am really intrigued for the next book. What I am hoping for with the sequel though is that we get a little more character development, because I felt like certain emotions were very surface level in this first book and it was quite plot heavy. However, I liked the plot, so it wasn't like a major big deal. I'm also hoping that the pacing is a little more smooth, because it did feel a bit jumpy at times. It felt like we were skimming over stuff quite quickly, and there was some stuff that I found really interesting and I wanted it to slow down so that I could process what was happening. But yeah, this is a very fast-paced fantasy, so I think if you like fast-paced YA fantasy, then I would recommend it so far. Obviously, I need to finish the sequel before I can give a proper recommendation. I think if you're used to reading adult fantasy, then it is really important to know that this feels like a young adult book, but it's not pretending to be anything else. So that's definitely not a criticism, it is just something that I wanted to mention. I am also taking part in the Magical Readathon this month, so I'm using Raybearer for the restoration prompt, and then Redemptor I'm using for the lore prompt, which is to read a book with a map, because both books have a map, and I'm really glad that they do, because the world is quite expansive and I think I would have been a little bit lost otherwise. I will let you know anyway once I've made some progress on Redemptor, but I'm hoping to finish this by Saturday so I can get this vlog live, but we'll see how things go, because I also need to film my March wrap up at some point, because I've been putting it off and putting it off and I just need to sit down and do it. Hello everyone, it is now Friday. I have just finished work and I'm sitting on my squeaky chair again, so apologies if you can hear that, but I completely forgot the Realmathon Peace Talks this weekend. So I feel like that might be a good opportunity to get a lot of reading done. The thing is, I don't really watch reading sprints anymore. I used to love watching them when I lived alone, but I don't really get much of an opportunity to watch them anymore. So yeah, I might do that this weekend. I would also like to pop into town at some point. I'm just really craving coffee and I don't really keep coffee at home because I just don't really drink it in the week. So I might pop into town and read in a coffee shop, which I haven't done for a few weeks actually. I did make a start on Redemptor last night. I think I read the first part, so I'm around 20% of the way through, and this really throws you into the action in the first few chapters, which I wasn't expecting, but it seems to have slowed down a little bit and some new questions have been raised, which I'm a little bit intrigued about. I don't know, I feel like the start of this hasn't gripped me that much, but generally I am interested to see what direction it goes in. Obviously it's difficult to talk about because it's the sequel, so I don't want to go into spoilers, but yeah, I'm still liking the characters. What's really good actually is that some of the side characters have started to get more of a prominent role in this book, which I think was needed because some of the side characters kind of faded into the background in book one, and actually a few side characters have been mentioned. And bearing in mind, I literally finished Raybearer like 2 days ago, I had to remind myself who certain characters were, and I had to remind myself that they were actually mentioned in the first book because yeah, I'd already forgotten about them. But so far, liking it, but not loving it as much as I was loving the first book when I started that.
I dreamed I had a million things to hold me over till you call, and now you're somewhere with someone else, and I've got nobody at all to break my fall. worst days. Now you're keeping me on my toes, saying you're on the way. It's 3 a.m.
So I am now around, I think, 50 to 60% of the way through Redemptor. I was looking last night to try and find a natural place where I could stop, because this is split into 5 sections, whereas Raybearer was split into 4 sections. So yeah, I'm over halfway through now, and I don't have much to say about it really. I'm enjoying it just as much as I was enjoying Raybearer. Not a lot has really happened. I mean, there has been a few action scenes, but I don't really like the action scenes in this series. I much prefer the political side of the plot. Some of the characters have made some decisions that have felt very rushed, and the thing is, I am quite a logical person, so I like to understand why characters are making certain decisions, and I like to see their thought processes, and we haven't really had that in this book. But at the same time, the decisions that they're making, I can understand why they're doing things the way that they are. I just feel like I'm being told rather than shown how they're coming to do certain things. There has also been a few little things that have felt too convenient, but it's hard to tell because it might be by the end of the book that certain things make more sense. But you know where you get the feeling where the author has written themselves into a corner and they're having to make characters do stuff to get out of a situation quite quickly to progress the plot along. I've got that feeling just a few times, but it's not like massively affecting my enjoyment. It's just stuff that I'm noticing every so often and it's making me roll my eyes a little bit. But again, I don't know whether things are going to make sense by the end of the book, because this so far hasn't really gone the way that I was expecting. Like, there was certain stuff that I was expecting to happen in this book that hasn't happened so far. Like, there were characters in the first book that I thought would play a more prominent role in the sequel, and they haven't. And I don't know whether that's a good thing, because I like being surprised, but also it's felt a little bit jarring. But we're gonna see how this last third goes. I don't know actually now if I'm gonna finish this book today, because today is also the first day of Eurovisionathon, which is a Eurovision themed readathon hosted by Helen from Helen's Bookhaven. I will leave the details in the description, just like I'll leave all the details for Realmathon in the description as well, and the Magical Readathon, because those are the 3 readathons that I'm taking part in this month. And yeah, we're halfway through the month, and so far I think I've finished like 2 books, so I really need to get a move on if I'm going to complete my TBR in time. But I want to read the Frederick Backman book that's on my TBR because it's only like 100 pages, and I'd like to start Eurovisionathon by reading a book for Eurovisionathon, so I might do that this evening after I've finished filming my March wrap-up. I've been making plans this weekend as well for the Eurovision final, which is next month, and I think I know what I'm going to be doing now for the final, because I had a few different options. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm just really excited for May because I've got so much planned, and it's going to be a really busy month, but I'm excited to have plans, and I need to remember to relax every so often, because I think sometimes I get carried away with myself and I make plans for every single weekend in a month and then I burn out and it takes me a few weeks to recover. But yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling happy and I'm excited to finish Redemptor, because the next vlog that I have planned is one that I've been really looking forward to doing. So yeah, I will catch up with you possibly tomorrow, because I don't know if I'm gonna finish Redemptor today, but I think the next time I update you will be once I've finished Redemptor. Hello everyone, I am here to wrap up this vlog. I'm really hoping that you can't hear my washing machine in the background because I'm filming in my kitchen, but I have just finished Redemptor and I think I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it and I really enjoyed this series as a whole. I thought the ending was satisfying. There was a lot of build-up and there were a lot of new characters that were introduced in this second book, which I think is why it's had some mixed opinions, but I really liked it, and yeah, I really liked this series as a whole. I didn't think it was perfect, however, it had everything that I want from a YA fantasy. The aspects that I liked were developed enough for me to feel invested and to keep me interested, so it worked for me, which is obviously good. I think I would recommend it. I mean, I would really recommend this if you like fast-paced political YA fantasy. It was very plot-driven at times, and I do sometimes find with fast-paced fantasy in particular that the only reason why a book is fast-paced is because there's so much going on and there's constant action, and while this second book did have more action than the first book, it wasn't overwhelming. The world building was really lush and vibrant, and there was a lot of depth to the history and the politics of the world, which I really appreciated. I wanted a little more character development at times, but I thought that the core cast of characters were well developed. I found the characters believable, and I thought they had good chemistry. I also felt a lot more invested in the romance in the second book, which I wasn't expecting, but I think it's natural that the longer you spend with characters, the more invested you feel in them. What I loved the most, though, was that there were so many twists and turns throughout this series, and I love it when a book can surprise me. I've had to be actually really careful as I've been filming this vlog, because I've gone to say something and then I've thought to myself, no, that's not mentioned in the synopsis, so I can't even really hint at that. This whole book was a journey. The way that it ends isn't how it begins, but also it felt well plotted. I do think that this was a good length. I think it could have been a little bit longer, because there were times where it felt like we were skimming over stuff too quickly and where characters were rushing into decisions, but the decisions that they were making made sense. So I would rather that than to have a book that feels like it's waffling or dragging and where I start to feel bored. I wasn't bored at any point while reading this duology. So yeah, at the end of the day, the few issues that I had with this series didn't overwhelm my overall enjoyment. So I am glad that I read this. I'm glad that I read these books back to back, because there was quite a lot of detail within the lore and the history of this world that I think I would have forgotten if I'd left it any longer. I think if I'd left it a year before picking up the sequel, then I wouldn't have felt as invested in the characters, but I really enjoyed this series, and like I said, I would recommend it. So yeah, I think I am gonna wrap up the reading vlog here. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments if you've read this duology and what you thought of it. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.